We are back for our college football best bets here for week number 8. 10 of them to be exact. Some top 15 matchups, some top 25 matchups, some unranked games. But of course, we found the 10 best bets for week 8 of the college football slate. Now, folks, before we get into the video, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below for some more weekly college football content here on the channel. Earlier in the week, we posted our full week 8 predictions. I predicted every single week 8 college football game. Yes, even, Georgia State versus Georgia Southern. They are all on the video we posted earlier this week. It's linked in the description down below. 4.5 hours long of college football predictions. We do it every single week, so make sure to go check that out. Again, here are my favorite bets of the week, but if you want to see any game, every game, we already did that earlier in the week. Also, you do the same thing with the NFL. Predict every single game. We'll have 5 best bets tomorrow for the NFL, along with our 5 best player props tomorrow. Also, daily MLB best bets on the channel and on Greedo Plays MMA. We have got our UFC Vancouver, Dorita versus Allen full card predictions, and also our PFL Africa predictions for the first time from the country of Rwanda. We've got our PFL Africa predictions over on Greedo Plays MMA. Those again are linked in the description down below. Okay. 10 best bets for week 8 of the college football season. Let's start things off with our one and only bet for tonight here on Friday night. Give me the Cal Bears. 7.5. The line's at 9.5, but you can still get 7.5 for minus 125. Yeah, I'd rather not play minus 105 for 9.5 if I can get minus 125 for 7.5. I know what you might be thinking. Well, a team's probably not going to win by 8 points, 9 points, just take them to win by 10. I'm not going to play any chances. Do I think Cal blows out North Carolina tonight? Probably, but you know what? I'm not going to take any chances. I'm going to take the 8 points, and that's fine. Or I'm going to take Cal to cover, obviously, the 8 points. I've been very critical and very harsh about North Carolina all year long, and why wouldn't I be? Why wouldn't I be? North Carolina sucks. They are not competitive in Power 4 football. Hell, I can make the case they're not competitive in Division I FBS football. They've beat the Charlotte 49ers, who are the worst team in the American Athletic Conference, and you beat Richmond, who's an FCS squad, and your other losses have all been blowouts. In Chapel Hill, 48-14 to TCU. At Central Florida, 34-9. At home against Clemson, 38-10. Exactly. Now, is California on the level of those schools? They're probably on UCF's level. Maybe Clemson. Again, Clemson's weird. Sometimes they're, some weeks they look great, some weeks they don't. I'd honestly put California on the same level as Central Florida and Clemson. And on top of that, you put North Carolina on their first cross-country trip of the year, and their only really cross-country trip of the year, on a late-night spot. It's not like, again, if this game was on a Saturday and it's at 4 o'clock Berkeley time, whatever, it's 7 o'clock over in North Carolina. This game starts at 7:30 at Cal. That means when the game starts at 10:30 North Carolina time, when they go to the halftime locker rooms, it's going to be over midnight. It's gonna feel like Saturday morning for UNC players. And sure, they've been at Cal for a couple days now. They're getting used to it. That doesn't matter. You put an East Coast team on the West Coast on a late Friday night, don't like it. A team that's already been struggling in North Carolina, right? No, California lost their last game. Another team from North Carolina, the state of North Carolina, the Duke Blue Devils, went cross-country and beat up on California late night spot on Saturday, 45-21. Duke would beat the absolute hell out of North Carolina. Guys, UNC's not good. Who will be the starting quarterback this week? I don't know. I'm sure Belichick hasn't let anybody know. I assume it's going to be Max Johnson. I assume it's going to be Johnson, who, of course, was a former Louisiana State quarterback, was the opening day starter last year for North Carolina, ended up getting hurt in game 1 at Minnesota. I assume he's going to start over Gio Lopez. He's looked much better than Gio Lopez has this year, and it's a move that makes the most sense to me personally. Gio Lopez is a sophomore. He's going to have 2 more years to play after this. Probably not at UNC. I assume he's probably going to transfer. But you might as well let the senior start in Max Johnson, because I believe he gives them the best opportunity to win. Regardless of that, though, he still doesn't give them a great chance to win because, North Carolina play calls like the prime New England Patriots days. And I say this all the time. Or not even the prime New England Patriots days. Well, they were always in their prime. But like the 2017-18-ish Patriots. It was the same play calling, especially when McDaniels left. It was first down run, second down run. Okay, Tom, go out and get us a 3rd and 7 completion. And you can get away with that. I say this all the time. You can get away with that when it's Tom Brady. You cannot get away with that when you get college-level quarterbacks, regardless of if it's Gio Lopez or Max Johnson. Also, the North Carolina defense doesn't really have talent. Beyond this, there's some off-the-field stuff we need to talk about. There was talk that Bill Belichick was either going to step down or straight up just get fired as the North Carolina head coach. I don't know if that's going to happen. There's a lot of talk that was going to happen over the week. It hasn't. You've got all of that circulating, and yet you still got to go play a football game on the road at California. I don't like that. You got to go cross-country on a Friday night on ESPN, and this is the game, too, where everybody's going to see it. If everyone didn't see it week 1 against TCU on a Monday night, they're going to see it now because it's on national television. It's the only game going. I mean, I guess San Jose State, Utah State's going at the same time, but it's on ESPN. It's following up a Miami game, that is probably going to get a lot of people to watch because Miami's the number 2 team in the country behind Indiana, not Ohio State. Get that one right. But I mean, people are going to be watching this game. It's going to be on a full display how bad North Carolina is. Cal's going to blow them out. Cal will blow this team out. Trust me. When Minnesota came here cross country, they beat them by 13 points. Minnesota's a much better football team than North Carolina. Dron Kewe Sagapulete, true freshman, he's getting it though. He is, makes some mistakes sometimes, but has a decent receiving core, decent running back in Kendrick Raphael. They are going to be very fine in this football game. Believe you me, North Carolina is not ready for this at all. California is the much better football team. And you take North Carolina cross country, they're going to get blown out, guys. Cal should win this game by 20-ish points. They should. They're on the same level, in my opinion, as Clemson, as Texas Christian, and not Texas Christian. They're not. As UCF, but North Carolina's got to go cross country for it. Late night game, Cal should blow them out. No questions asked. Let's go on now to Saturday's games, and we're going to kick things off with a money line. I'm taking Duke to beat Georgia Tech. Yep. I think eventually it's going to catch up to Georgia Tech. Their, middling offense, their option offense with Haynes King, running quarterback. Again, I think Haynes King's a good product. I don't think they can win this game on the road at Duke. Guys, Duke's putting together a lot of momentum right now. Duke's a hot football team. Again, we just talked about for 5 minutes how good California is and how good they can be, and the fact that I believe they're going to beat North Carolina, and I firmly believe that. Who just beat California by 21 points, went cross country from North Carolina to the Bay Area? That was the Duke Blue Devils. Duke gets Georgia Tech here. This line opened at minus 130 for Duke. It's now at minus 120. They're at home, and Georgia Tech is not as good as the rankings indicate. Guys, if I had to rank my 3 best teams in the Atlantic Coast Conference, I'd have trouble naming the third, just because I don't know who really the third best team in the ACC is right now. But number 1's definitely the Miami Hurricanes. That's a team that's probably going to, be number 2 in the playoffs. I think number 1's going to be Indiana or Ohio State, whoever wins it, right? Regardless, the 4 byes are going to go to Miami, Indiana, Ohio State, and probably Texas Tech. Just because I think the SEC is going to have a 1 or 2 loss winner, and I think Texas Tech's going to be undefeated. That's just my reasoning there. Regardless, though, we know Miami's the best team in the conference. I know Virginia's the second best. I don't know who the third best is. And maybe that's Georgia Tech. That's probably Duke, though. Maybe it's Southern Methodist. I don't know. I think SMU's kind of underrated now. Not picking them this week, but that is another game you can look for. Regardless, Georgia Tech's not as good as the rankings indicate. They're not the 12th best team in the country. Sure, based on wins and merit, should they be there? Yeah, they should. I mean, you're undefeated in the ACC. There's not many undefeated football teams left. I mean, BYU's one of them, but more on them later. G-Tech should be here. They're a 6-0 football team. It's just the way they've won some of these games. I'm so unimpressed. Going to Wake Forest and winning that game by 1 point. They got bailed out by the refs in that game. Wake Forest was stupid for going for it for 2 in overtime when you're at home. That's usually not what you do, but they did it anyway, and they didn't get it. There's been a lot of questionable decision-makings around Wake Forest football this season, and that was one of them. Georgia Tech beating VTech doesn't move me. VTech's probably they're not the worst team in the ACC because North Carolina exists and Boston College exists, but they're pretty bad. Sure, they beat Clemson at Georgia Tech when Clemson was still ranked 12th in the country, but watching now and knowing what we know now, Clemson's not that good. Guys, I would say Georgia Tech's best win by far this season is at Colorado. Colorado just beat Iowa State last week. Going to Boulder is actually kind of difficult to do. Obviously, Brigham Young did it, but that's by far, in my opinion, Georgia Tech's best victory. Week 1 at Colorado, and they struggled against Colorado, against a Colorado team that didn't know their identity yet. Still, are we going to start Juju? Are we going to start Caden Salter? Are we going to start Ryan Staub? Not really, but that's probably their best one they have all year long. Since then, man, they've been winning games. I'm not impressed. I look at the Duke Blue Devils. This is a team that's just getting better. Low point of the season for them is going to be that game against Tulane. I think Duke's actually very alive. Well, I mean, obviously they're undefeated in the ACC. They're very alive to be in the ACC title game. Look at their schedule. If they can go to Clemson, which I think they will, their biggest game is going to come at home against Virginia, November 15th. Winner of that game is going to go to the ACC title game with the chance to go to the playoffs. Duke probably can't get in, and neither of them are going to beat Miami, but that game's going to be much bigger for Virginia. Don't get me wrong, because Virginia, Virginia goes 11-2 and loses to, and just loses the ACC title game from here on out. Virginia's a playoff team. They should be. But Darian Mensah and Duke have been playing really well the last 3 weeks. The offense has really come on. because you look what they did early in the season. They struggled against Illinois at home. They struggled at Tulane. Last 3 weeks, 45 points in NC State, 38 points on the road in Syracuse, 45 points on the road in California. You now return home, and your team's playing with a lot of momentum. You're playing with a lot of confidence. Darian Mensah is playing some really good football right now. Even at the game, when he returned back to Tulane for the first time, he was playing good football. Team just couldn't get a stop. They couldn't stop Jake Retzlaff, and Tulane obviously won the game. But Duke's a pretty solid team, and I just don't think Georgia Tech's ready to keep up in terms of scoring, man. I don't love Haynes King and Georgia Tech in a shootout. I'll just say that. I don't think they're equipped to win a shootout at Duke. Mensah's going to throw it over your head. Nate Shepard's running the ball really well recently. Shepard's had some big games. 168 yards against Syracuse, 91 yards against California, and Mensah's playing really good football too. I mean, I do think Duke's a very tough team to beat right now. I'm going to take the Duke Blue Devils, and they're at home too. Georgia Tech, again, eventually they're going to get got, and this is where it's going to happen right now. I'm going with the Duke Blue Devils at home to beat Georgia Tech. Minus 120 on the money line. They should be able to get it done from Durham. On to our third best bet of the video, we move to the SEC. Louisiana State goes on the road to take on the Vanderbilt Commodores. I'm going with Louisiana State plus 3.5. The line's at 2.5 right now. We're going to buy a point. I know that gets you to minus 130, and we don't love that, but I'm going to buy a point and get to plus 3.5 here so I can pick Louisiana State. Louisiana State should be fine here, guys. I went over this early in the week when we did our full predictions, obviously, but I look at both. I look at Louisiana State, and this is one of the best defenses in the country. Their offense, which is crazy because, by the way, going into the season, everyone was so high on the LSU offense. Garrett Nussmeier, it is what it is. He hasn't played that well this season, but their defense is the best in the SEC. I think it has to be. Yeah, Ole Miss beat them in Oxford. Okay, the defense gave up 24 points, and Trinidad Chambliss made some nice plays in that game. In this game, guys, Vandy's not going to be able to score on LSU. I know they put up a lot of points against Utah State, Georgia State, and Diego Pavia does it all for the Commodores. He runs the ball, obviously their leading passer too. I think Louisiana State's defense shuts this down. Guys, the LSU defense is very good. It is, again, top 5 in the country good. I mean, we talk about how great Ruben Bain in Miami's defense is. Obviously, D'Angelo Pons in Indiana, their defense is great. LSU's right there too. Ohio State's obviously got a very good defense too, and Texas is a really good defense as well. But LSU's in that discussion, right? They are elite defense in the country. 10 points against South Carolina and Lenora Sellers. Again, 24 against Ole Miss on the road. You're going to take that. You expect your offense to go on the road and score more than 24 points. When your defense can hold Ole Miss, an explosive offense who had scored 70 against Tulane the week before, you expect your offense to score more than 24 points. They couldn't get it done. Hold Clemson to 10 points. Again, La Tech 7.2 cares. Florida 10 points. It's a good defense. They went on the road and won at Death Valley this year. I don't think going on the road to Nashville, Tennessee, to Vanderbilt is going to be that much of a task for them. And I'm very surprised they're underdogs. So on top of that, I'm going to take the 3.5 points too. So there is there's some room for error here in this game for the Louisiana State Tigers. And I will 100% jump on that. LSU does not need to be perfect in this game. They do not at all. They just need to play good defense, contain Diego Pavia. I know Vandy's coming off a bye week. Last game, they went to Tuscaloosa, and they lost 30-14. It was game day, which is crazy. Vandy, Alabama game day, but college game day, obviously. But what Alabama did, if you shut down Diego Pavia, there you go. You take away Pavia on the ground, you make him throw the ball, and if your DBs are better than Vandy's receivers, you're going to win the game. LSU's DBs are better than Vandy's receivers, and I don't think it's particularly close. I love the linebacker core of Louisiana State, too. It's a great defense. The struggle with them is going to be offensively. It will always be. But getting points with LSU is phenomenal because the defense is always going to keep them in the game. It's just all a matter of, can the offense win them the game? Because that's a thing with football, too. I mean, we talk about how defenses are going to keep their offense in the game. Oh, offense needs to score because the defense is keeping them right in the game. Yeah, exactly. That is the personification of LSU football this season. And it's crazy because you look at all the talent they have this season, too. I mean, Garrett Nussmeier, again, supposed to be Heisman favorite, number 1 pick. Oh, New Orleans Saints are going to have the number 1 pick. He's going to stay in Louisiana. He's going to go from the Bayou right to, the Superdome. Boom. I don't know if that's going to happen. There's a guy in Indiana who's going to be the number 1 pick. His name is Fernando Mendoza. I don't know if I want Fernando in New Orleans, though. Yeah, whatever. Maybe he can come back to college for another year. NIL money, Anyways, he'll be the number 1 pick. They need the offense to be better. Nussmeier, has not played that well this season. He's turning over the football. I don't love it. He just needs to be better. This is a Vandy defense that gives up points. I know Utah State, when they played at Vandy, a lot of their points came garbage time, but Jacob Conover, who's the backup quarterback for Bryson Barnes over at Utah State, scored quite a bit against Vanderbilt. They are a defense that you can score on. They are. They're a good defense. They're not an elite defense like Louisiana State. So in a game like this, where you're giving Louisiana State 3.5 points, we should be fine. We should. They have no run game. I get it. Not really. I just need Nussmeier to be half competent in this game. And I think Louisiana State, building off of momentum from last week, you get A&M in Baton Rouge in 2 weeks. It's time to pick it up right now. So I'm going to take Louisiana State and Garrett Nussmeier to win this football game. I'm going to take Louisiana State plus 3.5, though. Again, I think they're going to win, but if we're given points, we're going to take them. Again, if Vandy wins a close game that's down to the wire by a field goal, we're not complaining as well. So I'm going to be going with Louisiana State plus 3.5. We will buy a point to get it to minus 130. That's fine, in my opinion. Give me Louisiana State minus 130 on the road at Vandy. We go on to our fourth best bet of the video. We move and we stay in the Southeastern Conference. Ole Miss on the road at Georgia. Ole Miss plus 7.5. I'm completely okay with it, guys. I'm not even, I could go basics and say, oh, well, Ole Miss is the 5th-ranked team in the country. They're undefeated, taking on Georgia, who's the 9th-ranked team in the country, and Ole Miss is getting 7.5 points on the road. Well, obviously, we're going to take Ole Miss. Now, that's not my mindset with this. It's not at all. I could tell you, well, look at last year. Ole Miss with Jackson Dart beat Carson Beck in Georgia in Oxford. They beat him 28-10. Again, I can make those points. What I will tell you is that Georgia is not 8 points better than Ole Miss. Nope. They might be better than Ole Miss. And I think Georgia probably wins the football game. They're not that much better than the Ole Miss Rebels. Watch the way Georgia has played so far in the SEC this season. Sure, their signature wins on the road at Knoxville and Neyland. By far. Going to Tennessee and winning that football game. Phenomenal effort out of Gunnar Stockton. I have not watched Gunnar Stockton play a better football game than he did on September 13th at Neyland Stadium. Week after, you struggle a lot against Alabama. You beat Kentucky. You beat Auburn on the road, but controversy, to say the least, happened in that football game. Again, I'm clapping. We miss a quarterback sneak that should have been a touchdown. A lot of crap went on in that football game in Auburn, Alabama, okay? So that game could have easily swung the other way. Again, yes, Georgia wins it by 10 points, but Kirby said it himself. Ooh, we stole one. We barely survived. Yep, you did. Taking Ole Miss in the spot. Ole Miss getting 7.5 points on the road at minus 110. I know they played a poor last game. They played a really poor last game. Trinidad Chambliss and Ole Miss really struggled. Lane Kiffin said it himself. Oh, we got to stop with this D2 nonsense, referring obviously to the past school Trinidad Chambliss played at last season, obviously taking over in week 3 for Austin Simmons for the starting job. Regardless, though, Ole Miss found a way to win. Am I all that high on Ole Miss being a top 5 team in the country? No. I think if you match them up against every other top 5 team in the country, they lose. I think Ohio State beats them down. I think Miami beats them down. I think Indiana blows them out. And I think A&M definitely wins that game too. I think if you match up Alabama and Ole Miss right now, Alabama probably beats Ole Miss, and they're ranked 6th. I think Texas Tech probably beats Ole Miss too. I don't know if Georgia does, though. I think they win. 7.5 points is just too many. For an offense that has not looked great, let's say that. They have not looked great since the win at Neyland. That game Georgia plays at Neyland Stadium, I was so sold on Georgia, man. I was so sold. Again, we took them the week after when they played Alabama. They were at home, and it's something about Kirby Smart playing the Alabama Crimson Tide in the regular season, just in general, but especially in the regular season. Georgia, they just struggled. They struggle so much against Bama. But since that game, man, offense has not looked great. I've not seen Gunnar Stockton play nearly as well since he did in that one game against Tennessee. Run game's very on and off, man. I don't like this spot for them. I think Ole Miss is able to score. I know last week they struggled against a good LSU defense, but Trinidad Chambliss against that good LSU defense still threw the ball for 315 yards. They score. I know last 2 weeks have been difficult. I'm gonna scratch the Wazoo competitive game for being okay. We're looking ahead on the schedule. We know we got to go to Athens next week. Big game, not on prime time, oddly enough. It's the 12:30 start time. I guess 3:30 start time out there on ABC. But we know that's coming up. It's just we don't really care about the non-SEC game in Wazoo. We just got to win it. That's what I'm going to credit the competitive game against Washington State for, okay? I'm not too concerned about that. The offense will show up. Okay, I've seen Georgia give up a bunch of points. I saw Joey Aguilar shred this defense. Do I think Trinidad Chambliss is better than Joey Aguilar? No. And hell, Ty Simpson did have some troubles at times too. I get it. But I just think asking Georgia to cover 7.5 points is too many. I think it is. I think Ole Miss is too good for this. I think their defense is solid. And I look at the way the Georgia offense has been playing right now. I don't have much faith in the Georgia offense currently. I don't. Like, I know they're good. I know they got talent. Have they really showed that, though? Not really. Not really. So, I'm going to be siding here with the Ole Miss Rebels on the road. Plus 7.5 feels like a good line for me against Chambliss. I think should have a better game. Quan Lacey's a pretty capable running back for Ole Miss as well. They've got players here. I'm going to take the Ole Miss Rebels on the road plus 7.5. Do I think they win? No. If I thought they'd win, I give you the money line. I think 7.5 points is just too many to ask for the Georgia Bulldogs, a team that's been struggling as of late. I'm going to go Ole Miss on the road to cover 7.5. Georgia probably gets the win, but I don't think all that impressively. But winning against the top 5 opponents impressive regardless. Anyways, give me Ole Miss. Next up, we go to a huge matchup in the Sun Belt. The biggest matchup we could possibly ask for in the Sun Belt right now. Maybe not. Southern Miss. But anyways, James Madison versus Old Dominion. Old Dominion coming off a very poor loss last week to Carlos Del Rio Wilson and the Marshall Thundering Herd. Old Dominion goes on the road and loses that game 48-24. After a Monarchs team that was building more and more confidence as the season had gone on. This is a team that we were talking about playoff hopes for after their competitive their loss to Indiana, where they only lost by 13 points, where Colton Joseph scored in the first and last plays of the game, essentially. Final score, though, look how good Indiana is. Yeah, Old Dominion lost the game by 13 points to Indiana. I mean, Indiana blows everybody out, and ODU only lost by 13. Now, you can scratch that to, Mendoza's just learning the system and whatnot, whatever. ODU then goes and beats Virginia Tech on the road and blows them out. They beat Liberty, they beat Coastal, and then they walk into Marshall, and they get blown out 48-24. And you can say they're looking ahead. I mean, I guess. But I made that excuse about Ole Miss about a game that they still won. And yeah, they were 33.5 point favorites, but at the end of the day, it only matters if you win the game. And that's technically a Power 5-ish school in Wazoo, depending on how you count the Pac-2 right now. I know they're probably going to go down to G5 next year, G6 next year. But regardless, Ole Miss still beat Wazoo. Old Dominion got it handed to them last week at Marshall. Again, Carlos Del Rio Wilson and Marshall put belt to ass in that game. Del Rio Wilson, 220 yards through the air, 100 yards on the ground. It is a ass whooping. It is an ass whooping over at Marshall. James Madison, I know they have not been competitive. They've not been dominant. They've been competitive. They have not blown anybody out as of late. But they win games. And JMU's done one thing really since Signetti came here, and obviously Sig has left and he's gone to Indiana, just signed the big extension again. Bloomington's the new Bama. They had a star. But James Madison does one thing and one thing only in the Sun Belt, and they win. It's what they do. Google them. No. James Madison this season, 5-1 team. You beat Weber State week 1. Who cares? Louisville lost by 14 points on the road to Miller Moss. Okay. On the road to Liberty, you beat them. You beat Georgia Southern and blow them out. Competitive games in the last 2 weeks. And I get it. Playing competitively against Georgia State, a little concerning. That team does not know what they're doing at times. That was a game that they were still playing TJ Finley before they made the quarterback switch. But again, you win. I don't... Guys, road wins, it is what it is. You take them any way you can get them. Last week, they only beat the Louisiana Raging Cajuns by 10 points. They beat them 24-14. It is what it is. It's a win. And that's why here, we're not taking points. Obviously, there are no points to take. We're going to take the money line, minus 110. Again, ODU just wins football games. They have all the talent. They have probably the most talent by far in the Sun Belt. Again, the one team that would rival them in that would probably be the Southern Miss Golden Eagles. But trust me, JMU's got talent on this squad. Alonzo Barnett, Wayne Knight, you've got some great playmakers offensively. Again, they've got a very capable Division I quarterback in Matthew Sluka just on the bench and used in spots in running attacks or running formations for the Dukes. But Alonzo Barnett, very capable quarterback of the G5 level. This is a junior who will probably be playing somewhere in the Power 4 next year. I don't know where that would be. He'll have a job somewhere. Trust me, if he wants to leave James Madison. But why leave JMU if you're continuing to win Sun Belt championships year in and year out, and you're the guy over here, right? I mean, again, Sluka, senior transfer who started at UNLV last year, was undefeated at UNLV, was very good at Holy Cross, comes to JMU, albeit late in the cycle. Like, all right, well, Alonzo Barnett's our guy, which I still don't know why Sluka did that. It's just, he could be starting on a lot of G5 teams this season, and he came to JMU for no reason. Anyways, though, James Madison should put it on Old Dominion this week. It's, again, if this game was at ODU, I'd be a little concerned. If it was at ODU, I'd say, I don't know, because JMU's, they're struggling to put teams away. They're playing competitive games. You got to go to James Madison here. A team fires itself up when they're at home. And all this competitive crap and all this, all these tight-knit games. And sure, this game might be tight too, but this is a game where they can pull away, and this is a game that you really get fired up for. Because it's something about a game where you think you might lose. Guys, regardless of how close the games James Madison had against Georgia State and Louisiana were, they walked into those games thinking, okay, how are we going to get it done? What's the score going to be, right? We will win this game. What's it going to look like? This game against Old Dominion for James Madison is, we have to win. We have to do everything to win this football game. The preparation's different, the approach is different, and that's why James Madison's going to beat Old Dominion here. And also, again, Old Dominion just lost last week and got blown out. I mean, again, I think Carlos Del Rio Wilson's good. I think Alonzo Barnett, they have different skill sets, don't get me wrong, but I think Barnett's really able to, beat them in the pass game. And you did see the success that Del Rio Wilson had running the ball. I'm telling you, there are packages for Matthew Sluka. If you need to run him, saw the success Del Rio Wilson had. Maybe Sluka does the same exact thing if you put him in spots. I don't know. Give me JMU, though, to win the football game, -110. They're just better than Old Dominion right now. Next up, we move on to the Big Ten. Oh, man, let's fade Penn State. Let's all laugh. Let's all laugh. Let's all laugh. I'm going to take Iowa -2.5 here. -120 for the Hawkeyes at home. Iowa's actually really good. Iowa's a really good football team. Their losses this season are on the road in Ames against a good Iowa State team. Are they great? I don't know. They're a good Iowa State team. And then at home against the Indiana Hoosiers, who probably won't lose for the rest of the season, including the playoffs and the national championship game. So Iowa's pretty good, right? Those are their only two losses. What did they do last week? They go to Wisconsin. They win the game 37-0. Is Wisconsin a very good Big Ten team? No, they're dead last. They are. I don't think they can beat Purdue. I don't think they can beat Northwestern. I don't think they can beat Penn State, right? That team's really bad. But, I mean, it shows you the dominance Iowa does have, though. Iowa can score, too. I mean, look at the game they had at Rutgers. They put up 38 points in the Scarlet Knights. They win the game 38-20. That's a good victory. Iowa can score this year. When they play elite defenses, they struggle. Is Penn State an elite defense right now? Nope. Guys, Penn State is losing it right now. They are absolutely losing it. They're losing. Well, obviously, they fired James Franklin. You're losing a bunch of commits, and they're all flipping to Indiana, by the way. I'm just saying. And you lose Drew Aller. That's probably the most important piece. I mean, yes, losing 3 games sucks, but losing your quarterback, I mean, a guy who, if he had gone out for the draft last season, there's a chance Drew Aller right now is the starting quarterback of the New York Football Giants and not Jackson Dart. That's the amount of hype Drew Aller had around him at one point in time. Now, was it warranted? No, I didn't think so. Just because, they beat Boise State. Drew Aller is better than Jackson Dart, Shedeur Sanders. That's what people thought. And again, Sanders still waiting for his chance in the NFL. Browns. How long are we going to keep starting Dylan Gabriel? Anyways, by the way, Dylan Gabriel's game at home this week against the Vikings in, 50-mile-an-hour wind or something like that. Oh, that's not going to help the agenda at all. It's not going to help the Dylan Gabriel agenda. He's going to throw for 50 yards. More on that tomorrow. Anyways, I look at this game and I'm like, all right, well, Aller's out. That's a big piece. And you got to play an Iowa defense that's really great. That, hell, shut down Indiana for most of that game. Had a really competitive game against Indiana. And now you got to play this game with a backup quarterback? Yeah, Penn State might not score. Oh, yeah, their run game, Katron Allen, Singleton. Okay, it all starts with your quarterback. Iowa keys in on the run very well. I know Roman Hemby had a little bit of success running the football against Iowa. This is not a situation where I go out and say, Penn State, look at their run attack. They're going to see so much success against Iowa. No, not at all. Iowa's defense is good. By the way, the game's in Iowa, too. This starts a 3-game home stretch for the Hawkeyes where they have Penn State, Minnesota, and the Oregon Ducks. It's time for this team to dominate this week. I'm so serious. Penn State on a backup quarterback. Iowa, you know what they do. Again, offensively, are they good? No. Okay, Mark Gronowski has not thrown for more than 200 yards this season. They don't have, the type of run game they had last year with Caleb Johnson. It's been Patterson, Moulton, combo at running back. I know Patterson was injured to start the year. It is what it is. Iowa just does enough. And I look at what Penn State's been doing, obviously 3 straight losses. This team was ranked 3rd just 4 weeks ago. 3rd in the country, they were ranked. After playing, or before playing Oregon, they came into that game the higher ranked team, and obviously they lost. And they went to UCLA, lost. Northwestern game at home, you lose. And you lose the biggest asset of them all in Drew Aller. And sure, again, you let James Franklin go. And sure, Franklin never won the big game at Penn State, don't get me wrong. I mean, was it a warranted firing? Yeah. I mean, what has Franklin ever won at Penn State? Other than that run last year, that was pretty much the only thing James Franklin ever did at Penn State. Anyways, though, I look at this game, and I'm pretty easily, in my opinion, I'm taking Iowa. Taking the Hawkeyes. It's just their offense has to do enough. But, guys, the offense has not been that big of a problem for Iowa than it has been in previous years. Like, even the year that they went to the Big Ten Championship game with Cooper DeJean and whatnot, like, their offense was horrible. You know, it was really bad with, I mean, that was the year where McNamara started the beginning of the season, and they went to Deacon Hill, who's now at Utah Tech of all places. Like, they really struggled offensively those years. They don't struggle that much now. Again, would I call them an elite offense? Hell no. Would I call them a great offense? No. It's not an offense I'd rely on, but against a team like Penn State right now, who's going to struggle to score against this lineup, or this defense, in Iowa, guys, if Indiana almost lost in Iowa, what the hell is a Penn State team that's lost 3 straight games, fired their coach, and also lost their starting quarterback going to do? Exactly. They're going to lose. This is as automatic as it gets, and it's not like going to Iowa City's an easy place to play. Iowa's very difficult to go to and win. Give me the Iowa State Hawkeyes. It's not Iowa State. Oh, my God. Give me the Iowa Hawkeyes, not the Cyclones. The Iowa Hawkeyes to win this game at home against Penn State, and they will cover the 2.5 points as well. Give me Iowa at -120. As we move on now to our 7th best bet of the video, and we move to a matchup in the American Athletic Conference between the number 19th ranked Southern Florida Bulls hosting the Florida Atlantic Owls. I'm taking FAU on the points. It's too many points, guys. When I look at this matchup, I think 1,000,000 points are going to be scored. Like, when you look at the over-unders this week, this is one of the highest. I think 72.5. It probably is the highest over-under, other than maybe Wyoming Air Force, the only one that I can think of. No, that's 57.5 points. Yeah, by far the highest over-under this week is this game. 1,000,000 points are going to be scored from Raymond James Stadium. Again, South Florida versus Florida Atlantic. I don't think USF's able to really hold FAU that much. Guys, I see this game legitimately. I think South Florida's going to score probably 56 points. I think they can easily score 35. 52-35, we cover. I mean, that's the simplest, or 56-35, simply put, we cover. And that's a lot of touchdowns. That's a lot of points. I think it's going to be somewhere in the range of that. I think USF's going to score 56. I think South Florida can get in the 30s, though. I think they can easily score 5 touchdowns. I mean, if you watch both these teams play, FAU is, and they found it in their last game. Guys, South Florida, they're good. Byron Brown's a good quarterback. They really don't play defense. They don't. They got bailed out with a couple interceptions last week from Drew Mestamaker in North Texas. Byron Brown did not play a clean game of football last week, nor did South Florida. Now, do they end up winning the game 63-36 in a combined 99-point shootout? They do. They do. Now, there's 1,000,000 points scored last week, and I expect a bunch of points again scored this week between FAU and South Florida. However, so many mistakes were made by USF last week. I mean, first 2 drives of the game, back-to-back fumbles. Byron Brown's not playing clean football. And they're a good team. Do I think they win the American? Probably not. They go to Memphis next week, and they're probably going to lose. That's another factor, too. How much are you really, getting amped up to play FAU? There's a very good chance next week College Game Day is in Memphis versus South Florida. It's potentially the biggest game of the week next week. Winner likely goes to the postseason. Obviously, there's still the American Athletic Championship game to be played later in the year and in December, but it's a massive football game, right? I don't know how much South Florida really cares about FAU. Again, they're going to win. We are just taking a team that is getting 21.5 points on the road, and an FAU team that's got a very good quarterback. I mean, if you don't know about Caden Vetkamp's very good. Vetkamp's a guy, again, who will throw picks, but he's a guy who I assume is going to play in the Power 4 next season. If not, we'll move on to a much better G5 program. Vetkamp slings it. He does. He'll throw for 300-plus yards in every single game that he has. Hell, he's done it pretty much in every one but 2 so far this season. Everyone but 1 so far this year. And FAU just puts up points. They're not the best defensive team, I'll tell you that, but they just score. And that's the thing with USF, too. They score. They don't play great defense. North Texas scores 36 points against South Florida last week. Okay, the Charlotte 49ers, who we say are horrible, scored 4 touchdowns. Or they scored 26 points. They didn't score 4 touchdowns. But regardless, right, teams can score on USF. I'm not telling you that they're not going to score on FAU. They're going to score a billion points. This game's going to be a shootout. I just think FAU, asking them to keep up within a 21-point margin, you're not asking much out of Florida Atlantic here. If Florida Atlantic just plays their game and keeps on scoring, they're going to be fine. Again, this is a team that's coming off of putting up 53 points last week. And I get it. It's the UAB Blazers. Trent Dilfer, the head coach of UAB, got fired after that game because of how bad the Blazers have been. But I don't care how bad a defense is. Florida Atlantic putting up 53 points at home in Boca Raton means something. You start that game up 28-0. 4 straight touchdowns to kick off the game. I mean, again, the second quarter starts essentially. FAU scores a touchdown and they're up 28-0 a minute into the second quarter. Kind of let the foot off the gas as the game went on, but I mean, that game goes into halftime. It's 35-14 for Florida Atlantic. It's not like this is a long trip for them. This is an in-state game over from Boca Raton to Tampa. This is not that big of a trip for them. Again, it's a road game, but it's not going to feel like much of a road game. And I think they're able to keep pace with South Florida. Again, is South Florida a good team? Yes. I think USF is very good. I think their offense is great. I think they lack a defensive presence, though, to make them a real championship contender. That's what Memphis does have, and I think that's what Memphis will beat them with next week. Hell, I think Navy might see some success against South Florida, too, if they were to play. They do actually play. They play in Annapolis later in the year. We'll see how that game goes. It's at Navy, obviously. But FAU is just going to be able to score. I don't think FAU is good defensively. I don't think South Florida is good defensively. This is going to be the biggest shootout of the week. It's what American athletic football is, though. I mean, it's just crazy shootouts every single week. And we saw it with South Florida and North Texas. I get USF returns home, but that's the biggest win. They had big wins against Boise and Florida. I would argue the North Texas one's bigger. It's an in-conference game on the road, a huge game. North Texas canceled classes so people come into that game, and South Florida still found a way to blow out North Texas. They're going to be coming down off of that. Also, Memphis games next week. That's the biggest game of the year against another ranked squad. Florida Atlantic will keep this game competitive. They're not going to win, but I think FAU definitely stays within 21.5 points with their quarterback, Caden Vetkamp, and that offense. Give me FAU on the road plus 21.5. Next up, we move on to another SEC matchup as the Missouri Tigers go on the road to take on the Auburn Tigers. I'm taking Auburn at plus money. Plus 100 for the Auburn Tigers. I understand they have lost 3 consecutive games on the road in Norman, Oklahoma, at Kyle Field over at Texas A&M, and then at home last week against the Georgia Bulldogs, and we talked about it earlier in the video, the controversy that surrounds that Auburn-Georgia game. But every single game Auburn has played, and they have lost so far in the SEC. They are an 0-3 team. Same record in the SEC as Kentucky, but I will tell you this, Auburn has a lot more hope in the SEC this season than the Kentucky Wildcats do. Now, is Auburn going to be a playoff team? Obviously not. Can they still get bowl eligible? 100%. They're going to beat Missouri. I think they can probably go to Arkansas and win. If not, they get Kentucky at home and they get a game against FCS Mercer at the end of the season. That should get them 6 wins, and that should get them in the, Tax Slayer Gator Bowl. Maybe something worse than that, right? Auburn will probably still be bowling. I don't know if that's what they want at Auburn. Maybe, I don't know. Anyways, they're going to beat Missouri this week. Guys, Missouri's overrated. They are overrated. And by the way, they are the only team in college football up until this point of the year to not go on the road yet. Yes, you heard me right. It is October 18th, or tomorrow is going to be October 18th, and Missouri is yet to play a road game. Every single game this season has been in Missouri, Central Arkansas, Kansas, Louisiana, South Carolina, UMass, Alabama. They've all been in Missouri. They are yet to step out of the state. Eventually, here's the thing. You usually want to get that first road game out the way early. You're coming off a loss now, and you got to play at Auburn, a team that is definitely going to be pumped up after what the hell happened to them last week, because Auburn feels like they got robbed last week against Georgia, right? Auburn thinks that they should have won that game at home against number 10 ranked Georgia, and maybe that turns around their year a little bit, right? I mean, there's a big difference being 3-3 and 4-2, and Auburn could be 4-2 right now with a win over Georgia and a very manageable season ahead. Not telling you Auburn was going to go to the SEC title. I'm not telling you they're going to go to the playoffs, but their season changes. If you beat top 10 at Georgia, then you get Missouri, who's also in the top 15. You beat both those squads, you're probably a ranked team at 5-2. With your only losses being at Oklahoma and at A&M, it just changes the direction of your season, because now you're an 0-3 SEC squad that's 3-3. They have to be fired up to win this football game. Now, am I overly impressed by the Auburn offense? No, okay? I don't think Jackson Arnold moves the needle. I don't think he's all that great. He is a facilitator. He's a game manager, but he does nothing all that special. I see their best offensive playmaker. I don't even know who it is at this point. It's probably Cam Coleman, their receiver. They do nothing all that well offensively. I will say that. Their defense is going to play really well. And obviously the big factor and the big threat from the Missouri Tigers is their star running back, Ahmad Hardy, who got shut down last week by Alabama. Yeah, he only ran the ball like 12 times for 60 yards, but the effort to contain Hardy that Alabama put on last week in Missouri was the best effort we've seen any team put up against Ahmad Hardy, who's got 780 yards in just 6 games, right? Bama wins the game 27-24. Missouri covers, obviously, or pushes at the end of the game with the backdoor cover, with the backdoor touchdown at the end of the game to backdoor push, if you want to call it that. I think it's a legit concern, though, for Missouri. You have not left your home stadium yet. Your guys have not left Missouri just yet. And you're over halfway through the year, and you got to play an SEC game on the road against Auburn, a team that's played really competitively against some really good teams. Like, again, on the road, guys, Auburn goes on the road and takes on at number 9 Texas A&M, who's now number 4 or number 5. Yeah, I believe they're 6. They should be 5. They go on the road to number 6 A&M, and they lose the game by 6 points. Their defense is good. Guys, if Jackson Arnold and the offense get in the end zone a couple times against Missouri, they're going to win. They hold A&M to 16 points offensively. That's a good offense with Marcel Reed. You hold John Maytier in Oklahoma. This is fully healthy John Maytier in Oklahoma. On the road at Norman to 24 points. You hold Gunnar Stockton in Georgia to 20 points. Guys, you talk about that explosive Baylor offense. They throw the ball a million times with Sawyer Robertson. They went to Waco and held Baylor to 24 points. Auburn wins the game 38-24. They just need to get Arnold going on the ground. If you can get him going, rushing, like everything kind of opens up from there. It opens up, the pass on the run. It opens up some of your, running backs as well. I think they can beat Missouri here. I just don't think Missouri is that good. I mean, Bo Prabula, it is what it is. He's just okay, man. I think coming off that loss, though, and then going on the road right after, I just don't love that for Missouri. It was a good one for Alabama, but obviously I believe Mizzou's going to be much worse on the road. Again, it's crazy when you play 6 consecutive games at home. And now you're on a stretch where you play 4 of your last 6 on the road. I don't think this game's going to go well for Mizzou. I believe Auburn's going to get it done. I'm going to take the Auburn Tigers money line plus 100. And trust me, they're much better than their 0-3 counterparts in the SEC and the Kentucky Wildcats. I'm going with the Auburn Tigers at home. Next up, let's go to the Holy War. So, beginning of the week, I made a very bold statement and said that you could play Utah up to minus 13-ish and a half. I still believe that's the case. I wouldn't do it just because we're going to take the line that they give us instead. We're going to take 3 instead of going to an alt spread at 13.5. And while you could get great odds and make great money off of that, it is tempting for myself. I'm not going to do it, okay? I'm instead going to roll with minus 3 for the Utah Utes. I do believe Utah is better everywhere. Completely, they are just so much a better team than the Brigham Young Cougars. And I don't think it's close. Everything I said at the beginning of the week still stands. I'm just not going to go with my take of saying, 13.5 points, 9.5 points. No. We're just going to take the 3. Okay? We're going to take them to win by at least a field goal. And I get it. Holy War games are close. Last year, Brigham Young hits a big, 50-plus yard field goal to win the game as time expires over in Salt Lake. And I get it. This one's in Provo. Not like that makes the biggest difference because Utah fans are going to go to Provo. Brigham Young fans go to Salt Lake. Again, they are separated by about 30-ish, 45 minutes. It's by far the biggest thing that's happening in the state of Utah on Saturday night. Tickets are $350 to get into this game. It's the most expensive ticket in all of college football this week, except for, I think, Bama, Tennessee. I just believe Utah's so much better than Brigham Young, man. Brigham Young is too one-dimensional. They just run the football. Bear Bachmeier is a below-average passer. And sure, he's a freshman. He's only going to be better, obviously. But when you watch Bear Bachmeier play, he's below average passing-wise. He's a very effective runner and a great runner. LJ Martin is one of the better running backs in football. So you have, again, Bachmeier's ability to scramble and just take off and all of the design run plays they have for the quarterback, as well as LJ Martin, who's a very capable running back as well. Beyond that, they're not very good. Their defense is solid. They've got some injuries on the defense right now. But also, at the same time, I love the Utah Utes. I absolutely love that football team. Is their win over Arizona State as good as it appears on paper? No. Why? Arizona State's got injuries. Sam Leavitt didn't play. They had to play Jeff Sims instead. Regardless, though, you beat a top 25 team 42-10 in Salt Lake. That's impressive. Utah's only loss this season is at home against Texas Tech, who will be in the playoffs and will probably get a bye in the playoffs as well. That's the one team that's going to hold Utah out of the postseason because Utah is very likely going to get their rematch, in my opinion, in the Big 12 championship game, and I don't think they're able to get over the Texas Tech hump. And 11-2 Utah team is unfortunately probably not going to get in the postseason with their only 2 losses being to the Big 12 champion. I just don't think that's going to happen. The committee would be much more likely to put a 2-loss Virginia team in my opinion, over Utah, even though I believe Utah is better than Virginia. That's neither here or there, though. Utah's going to pick up a huge victory this week at Brigham Young. Huge victory. BYU is so one-dimensional. The run D for Utah, I really like. And the only offense that has seen success so far this season against the Utah Utes is that dominant, and I mean dominant, Texas Tech offense. They struggled early, don't get me wrong. Like, Brendan Morton didn't even have a good game. It was Will Hammond who stepped in and replacement, obviously, when Morton went out, and Hammond led Tech down the field multiple times. What has Utah done since the Texas Tech game? You go to Morgantown, West Virginia, you beat them 48-14. You get Arizona State at home, you beat them 42-10. And Devin Dampier is one of the best dual threat quarterbacks in the country, right? Devin Dampier next year, I think, is going to win the Heisman Trophy. He's a junior this year. He's going to be a senior next year. This dude is very good. He doesn't really have a number 1 running back. Like, I thought it was going to be Wayshawn Parker. I guess it is Wayshawn Parker, but I don't love the running attack out of the Utah Utes. I think Devin Dampier, though, is an excellent quarterback. I saw it when I watched him play in New Mexico with the Lobos, and he's been very good as well at Utah. Just wait. Next year, again, I think Utah, they're only getting better. Like, next year, they should win the Big 12. It's just Texas Tech's going to outspend everyone in the Big 12, though, so I don't know. And that's like an every year thing. Texas got so much money to spend. But anyways, Utah, they have BYU beat everywhere. I love the Utah defense. They should be able to stop this run game. And once you force, and here's the thing too, Brigham Young hasn't really been down huge in games yet. Yeah, Colorado had a lead against them in Boulder a couple weeks ago, but they haven't been down big. If Utah goes up by 14 points in this game's over. Because BYU just can't come back in that environment, man. The way they play, the run first attack out of Bachmeier, if you can just load the box and stuff that, man, make Bear Bachmeier beat you with his arm. Because he's just not going to do it. He will not do it, okay? Chase Roberts has 420 yards. He's our leading receiver this year at Brigham Young. But I'm telling you, Bear Bachmeier cannot beat you over the top. He's not that great of a talent with his arm, and he's still very young. He's a freshman, sure. Utah's the all-around way better football team. I don't care the games at Brigham Young. Utah is levels ahead of BYU, in my opinion. BYU's victories, too. I mean, what? Stanford, ECU, Colorado come from behind victory. Arizona win where they got bailed by officiating in that game in double overtime. Come on. Utah's going to destroy this team this week. I'm going to go with the Utah Utes to go to Provo and absolutely dominate the Brigham Young Cougars. Give me the Utah Utes on the road at -3. On to our final best bet of the video. One of my favorite bets of the week. Hear me out, guys. Stanford plus 17.5. I'm seeing plus 18.5 on some books. If you can get 18.5, take it, I guess. But I'm fine with 17.5 at the same exact time. And for as tempting as Lafayette Moneyline and Corvallis was this week, I'm going to go with Stanford instead for the nightcap. Stanford plus 17.5 points at home against Florida State. You're just asking too much out of FSU here, man. An FSU team that's lost 3 consecutive games, and I get it, they have the capability of scoring, but like I said after the Virginia game, Florida State's been figured out. Like I said that very quickly. After Virginia beat that team in that overtime game over in Virginia, I said, I think Castellanos has been figured out. He's not that good of a thrower. He's a run-first guy, and there's a reason BC didn't really want him last year. He left the team. They weren't really too concerned, right? They've lost 3 consecutive games after starting the year 3-0. They look great in the Alabama game, but they weren't figured out yet. Castellanos is running really effectively. They were really hiding his arm, and now, as teams have forced Castellanos to beat them with his arm, FSU has not seen much success. Again, 46-38 loss against Virginia on the road. You then play Miami, lose by 6 points. And then last week, the game everybody called me crazy for taking Pitt wins it outright. I mean, you lose the game at home in the same place. You beat Bama in Tallahassee, and then 6 weeks later, you're losing to Pittsburgh in Tallahassee. A Pittsburgh team that's nowhere near what people thought they were going to be at the beginning of the season. Eli Holstein gets benched. Really weird circumstance going on at Pitt. I guess the Holstein benching worked. But we look at the ACC standings right now. Florida State's in dead last. They're 0-3 in the ACC. Well, I guess BC's 0-4. They're even worse. But hey, Stanford beat BC and Stanford. Here's my thing, too. Florida State's struggling this much. You can't win a game in the ACC. Do they beat Stanford? Probably. But you're struggling this much. Now you got to go cross-country to take on Stanford. Same situation as North Carolina. 7:30 start time in the Bay Area. The game starts at 10:30 your time. It's the ACC after dark game. That's brutal. And again, Castellanos has just been figured out. It's not even like the FSU defense is playing that well anymore either. I know Stanford just went to Southern Methodist and got blown out. Okay, that's what SMU can do to you. Ben Branson, he leaves a lot to be desired. I think he's kind of finding his footing here at Stanford. Again, do I think Elijah Brown should maybe get some run? Maybe. but they have fully committed to Ben Gulbranson in the one season here of Frank Reich football. Obviously, Andrew Luck's overseeing things now at Stanford too. They have completely committed to Ben Gulbranson, and that's okay. Again, Gulbranson is your guy, fair. He's like 24. He already retired from the sport at one point in time, but you know what he's going to do. Again, he's going to sling it, kind of. Yeah, he doesn't always protect the football, but whatever. Like, I have a little bit of confidence now in Gulbranson, way more than I did early in the season when they played Hawaii, when they played Brigham Young. I have a lot more confidence now in Gulbranson after I've seen him win against San Jose State and throw for 444 yards, right? Run game's kind of non-existent for Stanford. They relied a lot on Micah Ford at the beginning of the year against Hawaii, against Boston College. They don't go to the run anymore. They let Gulbranson throw 40 times a game, primarily because they're losing in a lot of games. But again, Stanford's played 2 home games this season. They've won both. Beat Boston College. They were 13 and a half point underdogs against Boston College. They won that game outright by 10 points. San Jose State, they were like 2.5 point favorites. They don't cover because whatever. Because Gulbranson dirted a 2-point conversion. Way to go, pal. But Stanford beats San Jose State 3 weeks ago by 1.30-29. I know their offense is going to show up. I think FSU is going to score, but again, I think they're so one-dimensional. I don't love their pass game. Again, if Stanford makes Castellanos beat them with his arm, and if he does, whatever, like fair play. I don't believe it all in the Castellanos arm right now. I don't. I've watched this team play. That's what sets them back. Defense is not some elite force that I thought they were going to be. And sure, will they see success against the Stanford Cardinal? Yeah, I mean, like Brigham Young held Stanford at 3 points. But again, that's a Stanford team going to Provo. Okay, Provo's not an easy place to play if you're coming from out of the state, right? Florida State's going cross country to Stanford, California. They are going 6 hours, 5.5 hours from Florida all the way to Stanford. And they're playing a late night football game after dark on the ACC network, on ESPN. I mean, that game does not start until 10:30 Tallahassee time. And also, too, it's kind of hard to get excited as a Florida State player. You've lost 3 consecutive games. You thought you were going to the playoffs after beating Alabama. You were 3-0 going into a Virginia game on the road on a Friday night. You thought if you win that game and, then we got the big Miami test next week. If we can win these games, we're going to the postseason. Florida State Seminoles football is back. You've lost 3 in a row, and now you got to get excited for a cross-country game against the Stanford Cardinal. A team that I don't think they've ever played at Stanford. Just because, this is a conference matchup now, right? Way to go. Right? You will not be excited for this game. And you got to play it at 10:30 your time. Don't love it for FSU. And just asking them to win by 18 points? I don't like that at all. Give me the Stanford Cardinal, plus 17.5. This is one of my favorite bets of the week. Stanford, I might be in attendance, I don't know. Stanford at home, in front of absolutely nobody with that crowd too. The Stanford Cardinal will cover at home, plus 17.5 points against the Florida State Seminoles. Folks, thank y'all for watching our 10 best bets for college football week number 8. If you haven't yet, though, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below for more. Make sure to leave a like. If you did enjoy the video, make sure to comment if you did disagree with any of the picks. We'll be back next week again for our college football full predictions on Monday evening. We'll have all week 9 games. And also, again, next week, more college football best bets a week from today. So, folks, thank y'all for watching. Make sure to hit that subscribe button down below for more. And Mamba forever.